Justin, what got you into racing?
Just really just my dad. We used to watch NASCAR on Sunday, and I guess my first memory of racing was Watkins Glen, Davey Allison, and he wrecked out or something like that. And I believe it was, I don't know, maybe a year later, around that same time when he had his accident and everything. And my dad's always been interested in racing, and he's never driven. I'm first generation driver in our family, but he bought a car when I guess it was around 97 or 98, and I was too young to go in the pits, but I used to go with him. They dropped me off, and I sit in the bleachers and watched, and he really got me into it. We was riding four-wheelers and doing a bunch of crazy stuff, jumping a bunch of hills and climbing hills and different things. And Dad said, if I buy you a race car, will you sell that four-wheeler? And I said, yeah, no doubt. So he bought me a race car, and we've been racing ever since.
Now, have you always raced crate, or have you raced any other series?
We started out in what they call like a clip car back at my home, where it would have been my home track, but it's closed down now at Clanton, Alabama. And it's more like a stock clip, 3-link, it's fabricated rear suspension. And shortly after that, we bought a car from Mike Boland before he started building Track Stars, and it was actually a Warrior car. We run them for 2 years, and he started building his own cars, and we bought a car from him, and about the same time there, I started working for him. And then we just pretty much been in late models, and the street stock stuff has just kind of evolved over the last few years, and we're starting to get into that side of it a lot more, but mainly we've been running late models my whole career.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you were not running for the points this year, that you were just kind of racing for the joy of it. Is there any reason behind that?
The main reason is finances. I don't have the financial backing that we need to be on the road, to have spare parts and keep our equipment up. You know, we love to race 40 or 50 times a year, but the way our budget is, about 20 to 30 times, and our own equipment is about all we can afford. And we're looking towards schedules for next year. We may get back on the road and try to run some point stuff, but right now we've been focusing on just my shop, our program, and our business, trying to get our cars a little bit faster, and that's really the main reason, just to get better and just finances.
Now, you normally drive the 25 crate. You've also driven Andrew Bolaware's car, the 18B. You won in that car last year for the Street Stock Nationals, and you've also won many races in your car, which has kind of made you kind of the legend. You mentioned tonight that you'll be racing also the number X. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, the X car is actually J.D. Pass's car. It's a car we built 2 years ago, and J.D. got out this year, and Billy Riles, that owns Shannon Lee and Noah Daspett's car, he bought it and really was going to sell it, but hasn't had many hits on it, and asked me last week if I was interested in driving. I said, yeah, but we'll pick it up and see what we can do in it. We drove it last weekend at Jackson. The car was really good, and I told him not to change much on it and just get it ready for this race here. But I try to drive as many customers' cars as I can, when I'm not mainly focused on my stuff. When there's a split class where we can do that and the money's right, because I don't want no customer to think that I'm too good to drive their stuff, and I really want to drive it to kind of get a better feel of what they're feeling, so we can kind of relate to what the cars are doing. So that's where, Andrew's car is a Camaro leaf spring car, and most everybody else is on the big, cool metric cars, and I was really wanting to drive that car so I could kind of get a feel for it, so I could help them a lot more, because I really didn't have much experience in those cars. So that's where we done that. We had a lot of success in it, and we just keep moving on and try to help them out as much as we can, all of our customers. So.
Now, with this being a 2-day race plus practice last night, how do you think your car will run with it, with so much racing being done on it?
We're pretty used to the 2-night show stuff, especially here. We've been racing here for several years, and we're used to the Fall Classic, a lot of Neesmith races where there's a lot of running and a lot of cars on it. Definitely, track's going to get slicker tomorrow night, so we'll have to tighten up a little bit, make a few adjustments. But the other cars should do. When they leave the shop, we pretty much know where we need to be at by the end of the weekend, so we'll be fine.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Justin McCree again. Thank you again for giving us an interview. Hope to see you in Victory Lane.
All right. Nice to meet you.